Hi everybody, sorry this is so late. There's a bit of an audio issue with the other one that me and Scott were on, so unfortunately I'm just redoing the analysis. So yeah, here's the indoor analysis. Let's get going. Clip number 1. Yeah, Bears 2 versus Bears 1 at men's indoor regionals. So we have Henry on the disc. We've got a front of stack dump. There's no one else there. Nice save from Neil. Someone coming back under. Some good defense from Paddy and unfortunate, but good cut from Henry. Right. Let's look again at that clip. So what we can see in here is some good isolation cutting and some really good defense. So if we watch Paddy in this first clip, he knows that all he's got to do is kind of get in the way. There's no point in him really trying to turn his hips, that he's face marking at this point, which is actually the most effective way to mark this out, because it's really hard to stand side on in this situation. And the way that Neil is that he's kind of straight up towards the disc, which means that Paddy is just going to face mark, and he does a really good job. He face marks and so nearly gets D, but doesn't quite. We've got Dan comes under, and then some kind of the same situation, but you can see here Charlie does at this point, if I can go back, like 2 seconds. Here we've got an issue going on. We've got Henry who can see the disc, and Charlie who should at this point be able to see Henry, but instead he's got his hips facing forwards. So if Henry did what, if Charlie did what Paddy would have done and actually just face marked at this point, or just face marked and stepped a little bit more left so he could see Dan being the thrower with the disc, it would have helped him a little bit more. But in this situation, he's turned around and he can't see Henry, so he does the right thing and assumes that he's going to go up and gain ground, and instead Henry goes back and gets the disc very easily. But he comes round and recovers quite well. So instead, in this situation, just running straight towards the disc, he looks upfield and then goes towards the disc, which is good recovery. So we've got a flood going on here by Bears 2, and this is kind of an example of a way that you can score against a flood. So we've got 3 people back just swinging it, which is good, and 2 people in the end zone who kind of just kept on moving. Always try, if you're playing against a flood, have 2 people on offense who are in the end zone. And then Kenji is doing a great job on defense of following the disc and trying to get in the way. He's trying to stop that from coming back. Actually, Carver has to fake quite a few times before he can get it through. So I don't know why Neil throws it straight back, but you know, each their own. We've got some good movement by Dan and Henry in the end zone, which makes it really hard for the defenders. So they're moving in front of each other. One moves across, and then Carver in the other corner goes for it, which means you can see, if we look at the defense here, we've got Charlie on this side, Ben, and then Nathan, who's just behind Neil here. Kenji doing a really good job here, and I assume there's another person to the left here who has Henry, should do. Yeah, and then we've got Harry here. So kind of in this defense, Harry has a good positioning, facing in towards, so he can see what's happening. He can see the disc, he can see his player. Ben also, Nathan a little bit can get caught out because he can't see, like in the situation we had with Charlie where he couldn't see his defender. Same situation could happen here, but they've got more help, and we've also got someone on the sideline who can be helping as well, so that's good. But then we So in this situation here, Nathan has kind of told Ben that there's someone coming across. A little bit of miscommunication between Charlie and Nathan as to who is covering Dan, so Dan doesn't get covered, and Harry in this situation has too many people, and Nathan is kind of looking over at Carver, who would have been the next scorer if this didn't go in. But one way to score against a flood, confuse people in the flood, and then just get it in the front corner, like the front of the end zone here, which is what happens here, and nicely done by Wattens. Next we have a vert offence with Bears 1 versus Cardiff at Women's Indoor Regionals. So I said this in the stream as well, but you'll see that with women's ultimate, especially indoors, it's a lot more slow-paced, but it's kind of a different style of play because the women take up less space on the pitch. But we'll just look through this kit. I put this in because it's a really good show of patience and kind of just moving up the pitch. So I fake off a first cut, I think. Then up to Megan, who waits. Doesn't see anything really materialising. It's a bit late on the cut there. I think Lara, no one's cutting from the back at that point, so Lara goes. Nice cut and continuation, and then a nice put up. Who fortunately the person was quite short, so I could just catch over them. Let's go to the beginning of that clip again. So one thing I want to point out here is this situation here. You can't see her at the moment, but we've got Phoebe's defender who is not really doing anything. She's not poaching, but she's also not tight to Phoebe. Maybe she could get tight quite quickly, but if she wanted to really make more of an impact, she could be standing here, because I can still throw this through this space, and the force is forcing backhand. I'm left-handed, so it's a flick for me, but backhand. So this is kind of the free throw, and she can make this really hard by stepping in. So as with outdoors and with indoors quite a lot as well, if you're going to poach effectively. If not, stay tight to your man. If not, she should be right on Phoebe, stopping her from getting the disc or going up the line. Being lazy in this situation doesn't help, and I know we all do it. I definitely do it loads, but there's no point doing it. Yeah, commit to it or don't. So we've got pass one. We've got people going at the pitch. I don't know if there was a first cut. I couldn't see, but I think Lara then goes, but a little bit late, and Megan sees that there's nothing really on, and she at first fakes me, but then she sees I'm free, so I just stay there. If I'm completely free, there's no point me trying to get out of the way, because it's a free pass. We've then got Lara cutting under, not quite on, but I fake and she clears out, which is really nice. And then a little bit of a late throw, but a nice reaction, and a really nice put over the top. Wouldn't normally do that in like outdoors, but because it's really risky going from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch. But in indoors, that bounce cut, which we teach loads, coming from like over here to the left side and coming across, which is what I do. I start somewhere over here and I bounce across, is really effective. Would highly recommend, and practicing those throws over. So yeah, that's a nice one that Phoebe did. Unfortunately, she was quite small, the other person. Otherwise, I don't think I would have got it. I also think I hit her in the head. Right, next. We've got some more offensive, which is Bears 3 against Cardiff 1. And kind of to highlight here is the right things to do in vert and some of the not so great things. So let's have a look at how they come set up. So running down for the pull. This is obviously a very new team, and some of the stuff they did, there's some really good defense I show later, it's really good. I don't want to be like, oh, everything's not great, but yeah, just a few tips for like to go by, especially for Bert. And this is good camera angle as well, which is why I chose it. But Tom and Ollie and Rowan can kind of come through a lot quicker. They're quite slow to set up, which I think we all do, jog through kind of as the pool comes down, which means that Scott kind of doesn't really have any options straight away. But also the defenders for Cardiff are doing this kind of weird clampy thing, like one person here and 2 people on this side, whereas if you're doing a proper force you would have like 3 people here and then like 1 person on this side and the person on the dump. But Scott does a really good job of swinging it over to Joe, and Ollie does a good job of cutting, which is nice, maybe onto the wrong side, just because there's a big open lane here, but this was he went slightly before Joe had the disc, so maybe couldn't see that. So now we've got Tom going, and if this throw here by Joe was a little bit earlier, it would have been a little bit more, it was kind of just before Tom was looking. But what I wanted to highlight here was that it's really important, just as Scott did, to get the disc moving. And I think maybe if I was in Joe's situation, that's quite a hard shot to Tom. It's quite long, there's a defender here, which makes it a bit difficult. So maybe I would have faked that and thrown it to Scott, because we've got people who are kind of free on this side of the pitch, tried to throw it back and then around to get to these people instead. But it's some good heads-up defence from Cardiff, checking the disc. Cool. Next we've got some... Ooh. What's this next clip? Cool. We have some Endzone ISO, Bears 1 versus Ubu 1. And watch out for that cross-pitch throw in this clip. So we've got Henry with the disc, fakes to go up the line, Akash just sees that it's not really on, and then we've got a lovely put to carve it in the end zone. Let's see how that was done. So we've got Henry here, with a good force on him, and it's interesting in this situation because Neil is being stepped off quite a long way by his force here, his mark even, so it makes it really hard for him to get free up the line, and maybe he could have gone behind to here to make it easy and his defender would be on the other side. He could have gone like whoosh all the way around to here, and got a little pop pass from Henry sticking his butt into the his defender, so it's really easy. But he ran good patterns, Neil, went up the line, wasn't free, but Akash saw that and came under and got a little pop pass. And we have really good isolation going on here. So we have Neil, who originally wasn't anywhere near the end of the end zone, but kind of creeping, but not really. Dan, who stepped way forwards, and Akash, who was way forwards, and Henry as well. So it means that Carver is well isolated with... Ooh, the person's in the way. See if I can get his positioning on camera. So you can see really good positioning where he's really kind of pushing his defender and staying on this side of them, which means that Akash can put this really nice cross-pitch scuba for a great score. And there's no way that the defence is going to get there. It's going to be going through them. Right, end zone offence, Bears 1 versus Cardiff. University Women's Indoor Regionals. So this is kind of to highlight some of the things maybe not to do. As I was saying in the stream, in this match especially, we do lots of really nice end zone stuff, but I didn't look through all of it, so this is just some bits that I found. So we've got some nice swinging backwards and forwards, but as we can see kind of generally in this clip, we're a little bit too static as a team. We've got some people in the end zone, but as I said in the first clip, having 2 people kind of shuttling and keeping the end zone and the defenders moving is really helpful. Because we've got Val, who's nearly in the end zone, but not quite. So she should either commit to being in the end zone or just come out and be a dump and make it easy. And then Jenny, who's doing a good job of moving this person over here and making sure she's marked. But we've got some good swinging that happened, which was nice. Swinging the disc is always good. But then we've got a kind of free val in the front of the end zone, but not quite. So maybe throwing decision, but a hard choice to a static player. So as val is really quite static and asking for the disc, that trying this situation to keep on moving, it's actually much easier if you have a defender to move, to be thrown to a moving person, whereas if you have a defender and you're static, the defender can kind of creep up in front of you and get the disc, which is what happens here. So I think the next clips are going to look up some ways that we can score against a flood and attack against flood, because it's really quite hard to do, and it's one of the things that stops people from doing really well at indoors. They get it all the way up the pitch and then they get to the front of the end zone and they get a bit stuck and turnovers happen, and it's really like unfortunate. So we'll look at them. There was one at the start which was also Henry just kind of getting the front of the end zone. So actually there's 4 ways. The front of the end zone, the next way, we've got here, we have, you see Rowan at the back here, lots of running, just keeps on moving, fakes people out, just running lots in the end zone, keeping on attacking. The next way is attacking the front and going to the back, so that's way number 3. And way number 4, speedy across pitch throw. So yeah, if we look here, we've got people. If you see Rowan, he realises he's got 2 people on him, but he just kind of fakes and moves at the back until he sees that he's kind of moved them out of the way. Here, Henry does a good job of attacking the front of the end zone and then going back. So that's another way to score. Attacking the front of the end zone, stepping back, or like Henry did before, actually attacking the back, coming forwards, and Dan put a nice push pass over the top. But that could be a knife or, you know, something of the same. And then this situation where we've just got an isolated player who's in space, kind of being quiet, but putting their hand up a little bit maybe, and just gets thrown to over the top, which is why it's really important to practice overheads. It's just these 3 clips are chosen just because Red in this game played pretty much exclusively zone and floods. So yeah, cool. Next we have talked about offense a bit. Now we go into ISO defense. So here we've got some great footage from Bears 3 versus Cardiff 1 of some really good ISO defense. So to start off with, we have, if you can see if my bars are in the way, we have Tom Monell doing some great forcing, which makes it hard for the thrower to put the disc over here. We've got Scott, look out for him doing some great forcing under. He knows his guy is really quite tall, which means that if he goes deep or if it's an overhead, he's way more likely to get it. So Scott is really clever, has pushed him under. Look for some good defense there. Right. Yeah, it swung and then, really close to getting faked off pass. Some good defense going on there. Some good forcing going on by Ole, who's really nearly got this pass going on. And it was out anyway because of the force. So if we look at that again, so we see Scott, whose positioning is great. I think Joe probably could have called a pick there. If we look at that. It goes back so far. Yeah, he should have called a pick. He kind of was going to, then didn't do. Yeah, really good pushing from Scott there. I think it was meant to be flick force. I think we talked about in the analysis it was meant to be flick force, but people kind of all over the place. But Ollie does jump round here and makes it really hard for Cardiff to kind of slot this one in. and means that it's actually out the side turnover. So yeah, really nice work. Making sure that, so in Scott's situation, a tip from this clip is making sure you see who your ISO is, and putting your body position in the correct way, and having a great force. If you have a great force, this makes this really hard. Therefore, it was swung instead. You know, more passes, more turnovers, hopefully. Yeah. Cool. That went forward so far. Forces and indecision. Bears 1 versus Ubu 1. So in this clip, we have Ubu 1 on disc, and you'll see a little bit of indecision there, and Bears 1 doing some not so great forcing. So we have some pretty, we're meant to be forcing a backhand here, and I think there's like basically 3. Yeah, there's the indecision, and then this is just in because it's a score. So yeah, we have, let's see, Dan on force, who he's not stopping the round. Probably his arms aren't out enough. He's not on his toes. Kind of in general, he's not putting enough effort. They're all kind of in general not putting enough effort in on force. A little bit more oomph and kind of helps the team out. Makes it really hard for the team if like this cut coming under is always going to be super on and thrown to like here instead of thrown a bit later and a bit higher, and there's more chance the defender could have got it if it's thrown whoop and over here. So be more on your toes. Neil does a pretty good job to get round. Carver's just a bit slow and yeah, not really up for it in that bit. But then Neil does a good job in the second one as well to put his hands up to kind of get in the way. I don't know why he's so far behind though. And then this is the indecision that I was talking about, which is actually Ubu unfortunate. So we have a cut from the back and a cut from the front at the same time. So I don't know what their tactics are, but definitely not communication gone there. And the person from the front should have looked and seen, or the person on the back should have said something. But there's an indecision as to who's going, and because of that, we've got 2 people going at once. One person who is actually really free, and the other person who's not so. And Elliot, this person, he sees the other person going, and therefore slows down, and Dan gets a nice D instead. So yeah, 100% if you're going to do something, and even if you don't think it's for you, I would go for it anyway, to be honest. As long as you're not going to cause like a dangerous collision, go for it, because otherwise it may be a turnover like happened there. Cool. This next clip, I put it in because this happens to everybody. It happens indoors and outdoors, and a few ways that the team can help, and also how you can stop this from happening. So we have us running down for the pool, and if you watch Dan here, sorry, goes deep, and his player gets it straight away, which is unfortunate, but this happens absolutely everybody. So indoors especially, what can help is like not running down for the pool as hard on defense, because you can so kind of get into positioning, you can run down for a certain extent hard, and then as you get there slowing down a little bit quicker, just so that in a slippy floor it's really hard to turn around. So kind of thinking about that as you do it. Another thing that could happen is whoever's deepest, people on the sideline can do it, but whoever's deepest, I think Sid kind of notices, but it can be a lot earlier call for the back stack to be told to drop off and help. And yeah, sideline if there's help. So if there's help from the sideline, if your deepest on pitch, which would have been Sid on his defender, is told to drop off, and at the start of the point, whoever's deepest is told and they can help, and maybe not sprinting as fast down for the ball. I think outdoors, kind of it's a longer pitch, so you can still sprint for most of it. And there's more people on the pitch, so more people can help you in that situation. So always sprint down there, but indoors, maybe less so, just so that this doesn't happen as much. Cool. Women defence, Bears 1 versus Cardiff. So the women in this clip have just had a turnover, and we've just like scrambled to get our defense together, and I think it's a good clip showing our responsiveness. So we have some good end zone defense going on here. We've got some nice forcing from Jasmine, and I kind of realized that my person is not really doing much, and so kind of crowd the disc and get in the way to stop it from going into the end zone straight away. So I do that and then realise that she might throw to my person, so come back. And then got some nice defence there, some really nice defence from Phoebe, getting her arms in the way. And then I see that she's not really looking back, she's looking right now, so unfortunately don't quite get it. And then this is unfortunate, it's just a shot into the end zone to a tall person, but you know, we've all done it. So a few other notes to see from this. How far does it go? Cool. So yeah, one tip, if you've just turned over, especially indoors, getting just to the goal side of your player. So in this situation, getting just in between the disc and the end zone is really important, just to stop that scoring straight away, which sometimes you can kind of miss. So that score really quickly, which can kind of kill people. There's a turnover, someone's a bit asleep on defense because they don't realize they're on defense or whatever it is. So being really heads up and staying that side. So like Phoebe, she's kind of a little bit off, but it's kind of okay because we're kind of all crowding, getting in the way. I'm kind of getting in the way here. It just kind of helps a bit. Really nice active force here from Jasmine, getting in the way. And then really close from Jasmine, but doesn't quite get the upline. Yeah, some good reactive force from Jessie as well, getting in her face. And from Phoebe coming across, some great defense, getting in front. She realizes she's not got it, she gets in front of her. And yeah, unfortunate, but goes over the top. There was also another clip of Phoebe doing some good upline. Yeah, this is what I want to do. This is great upline defense. If you see like Boston Brute Squad, if you watch any of their games, one of the things they do consistently is they put their hands out when they're going up the line into the end zone, and it just means that it kind of puts off the person from throwing it. So if you see here, Phoebe kind of sticks out her hand a little bit, which maybe in the walls you're not as much going to do because you can't see the disc, but it kind of, you're not really getting in the way, and then you're not blocking them. You're kind of just stopping as much from them throwing the disc in that direction. So yeah, if your player's going up the line, maybe just sticking out a hand in that direction is really good. Yeah. Yeah, that's an unfortunate one. Zone defense, Bears 1. So yeah, here we've got some nice zone defense. For those who don't know, we play a zone which is 2 at the front, Jessie and Jasmine, who in half court it's Jessie who does forcing, and the other half court it will be Jasmine who does forcing, and they're forcing like into each other, kind of like barbs. We have Lara, who's one of the middle people, and then there's another middle person over here, and there will be one person deep. So we have 2 up front, 2 mids, and 1 deep. The 2 mids are trying to stay on the inside of people, so that these people are forcing in. Lara and the other one are trying to stay on the inside to stop that kind of through the middle shot, and then the deep is kind of covering anything that goes up at the end. So we've got some nice reactive movement going on here. Jasmine kind of sees that, make sure that it goes backwards instead of forwards. And then, yeah, I don't know, the lull wasn't for that, but she did just throw it into my hands, which I'm not sure why. But let's have a quick look at that again. Cool. So, actually a tip for breaking zones like this, if you do ever come up to the zone, is what this guy, I think she's called Hannah, does. Actually, so throw and go. So she throws and then she goes up the line. It's really hard for the defender to turn and follow. So actually, the zone does really well to compensate for this, to be honest. Jessie, this does go, but if you see Lara kind of comes back and comes closer because she realises it's going to happen, it's really hard to stop, especially in this situation where there's a big gap here. But being slightly more around to the left can help. So if Jessie, instead her feet are here, slightly more like towards the tram lines, can help a little bit. But it's kind of okay, and they do really well to recover. Jessie gets in front, Lara kind of pushes in, gets close. Really nice and reactive. And Jessie here sees that the person is slightly to her left, but she throws it over the top anyway, which I don't know why. Don't do that, but cool. Next clip. Lol. Yeah, I want to show this because I was watching through the games and I thought this was quite funny. Yeah. I don't know why. This is a technical turnover actually, because Neil caught the disc and then dropped it again. But yeah, good save. And then nothing was called, so you know. Yeah, I wanted to show people this clip because this was in my first year of playing Ultimate at uni, and this is kind of one style of playing which I think as a club we've kind of moved away from, which some ways is good, some ways not so, who knows. But this is quite male heavy. There wasn't much mix that I could find, so I wanted to show you some mix which maybe isn't as good, but it shows lots of overheads and some good options from there. But definitely I want to highlight one aspect and one throw that happens in these clips which frustrates me as a female player, but also I know that some people I play with just don't see that as an issue, and I wanted to just show it. So yeah, we've got some great things going on, and then this happens. This is real sad. So let's go back to the beginning. They're playing against Swansea in the zone. We've got a nice crossfit super, and then Ellen is completely free and gets thrown straight past, which there's no point doing this. There's no point going to the opposite sideline. Ellen is a really good handler. Whoever it is, to be honest, they should throw to them, to the middle of the pitch. And I think, yeah, this happens quite a lot in all different levels, but especially to women. And I just want to highlight that I think as a club we've come along from this, and we've become a lot more of a mixed club, which is really good. But yeah, just to highlight that. Now we can watch them. I think they score. See, I'm on the sideline here talking to Dan. He looks like a baby. We've got loads of movement happening, which is good. Yeah, I think it's thrown away to Frigg up here. Just like Jonah just like pipes it over, but then it's turned over straight away, which is kind of funny. And then we have a weave, maybe? Play tool. I think in the past it was a lot easier for us to play just with the men, as we had quite a lot of tall men. Not that we don't now, but maybe not in quite the same way. But yeah, just to end on a, I don't know, a happy note, maybe. But I think as a club, we've come a long way from that. Yeah, not saying it's a bad way of frisbee though, but yeah. Thanks for all watching. Hope this was somewhat helpful. Sorry the recording was not great last time for all the people who actually watched the stream, but hopefully at some point in the future I will be doing some more streams of different stuff and getting some more guests on the analysis frisbee show. But I have exams for the next 2 weeks, so maybe not anytime soon. Who knows?